There is a pattern in history that almost no one talks about, yet it has ended every global superpower that believed it would last forever. It does not announce itself with explosions or invasions. It does not begin with defeat on the battlefield. It begins quietly, invisibly, inside the economy. And once it starts, it follows a sequence that no empire has ever escaped. Over the last 500 years, three superpowers reached absolute dominance over the world: Spain, Britain, the Soviet Union. Different centuries, different systems, different cultures, yet all three collapsed the same way. And today, in 2025, the United States is not approaching that pattern. It is already deep inside it. Imperial collapse never looks the way people expect. It does not begin when tanks roll through the Capitol or foreign flags rise over government buildings. It begins when an empire expands beyond its ability to sustain itself. Military commitments grow faster than productive capacity. Promises multiply faster than revenues. Debt grows faster than real wealth. At first, nothing appears wrong. The currency still works. The military still wins battles. The government still reassures the population, but beneath the surface, the system is hollowing out. Resources are misallocated. Innovation slows. Productive citizens disengage. And the advantages that once created power quietly become vulnerabilities. The first empire to follow this blueprint was Spain. In the 16th century, Spain controlled more wealth than any nation in human history. After the conquest of the Americas, gold and silver flooded into Europe in unimaginable quantities. Spanish ships delivered hundreds of tons of precious metal every year. The Spanish real became the global currency. Trade across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East depended on Spanish silver. Spain believed this wealth made them untouchable. It did the opposite. With unlimited money, Spain expanded its empire across continents. Wars against France, wars against England, wars in Italy, wars in the Netherlands, campaigns in the Mediterranean, the Americas, and Asia. All at the same time. Military spending consumed half of the government's revenue and still wasn't enough. To cover the gap, Spain debased its currency, quietly reducing the silver content of its coins while keeping the same face value. Inflation surged. Trust collapsed. Merchants refused Spanish money unless discounted. Debt became the solution to every problem. Spain borrowed from foreign bankers repeatedly, defaulted repeatedly, then borrowed again. 4 sovereign bankruptcies in 40 years. Each time, promises of reform were made. Each time, spending resumed. And while silver poured in, something more important disappeared. Spain stopped producing. Agriculture stagnated. Manufacturing declined. Innovation vanished. Why build when you can buy? Why work when wealth arrives effortlessly? The silver that entered Spain flowed straight back out to pay for foreign goods: French wine, Italian silk, Dutch ships. Spain became a pass-through economy. Wealth moved through the empire but never stayed. When silver production slowed, the entire structure collapsed. Crime surged. Cities filled with beggars. The most productive citizens left for countries that were building instead of consuming. Spain still existed on maps, but economically it was finished. It never recovered its former power. 300 years later, Britain stood at the center of the world, the largest empire ever assembled. 1/4 of the planet under British control. The pound sterling was global money. Every major trade contract was written in pounds. London was the financial capital of Earth. Britain believed its dominance was permanent. It wasn't. By the early 20th century, Britain was already overextended. Military forces were scattered across 6 continents. The cost of maintaining global dominance was enormous. When World War I erupted, Britain made a fatal decision. It chose to fight at any cost. The war drained Britain's gold reserves and forced massive borrowing, primarily from the United States. When the war ended, Britain had won militarily but lost financially. The empire was now a debtor. To preserve the image of strength, Britain attempted to maintain the pound's pre-war value despite a weakened economy. The currency became overvalued. Exports collapsed. Unemployment surged. Manufacturing declined. Eventually, reality asserted itself. Britain abandoned the gold standard. The pound fell sharply. The world's reserve currency had admitted it could no longer keep its promises. World War II finished the job. Another round of massive borrowing. Another round of economic exhaustion. Britain won again, but the empire was finished. India was gone. Africa followed. The Middle East followed. Within a generation, the empire vanished. The pound became a regional currency. Britain remained a nation, but no longer a superpower. The empire never returned. The fastest collapse of all came in the 20th century with the Soviet Union. After World War II, the USSR emerged as a superpower rivaling the United States. Nuclear weapons, global influence, military parity. But beneath the surface, the economy was decaying. The Soviet Union spent an enormous share of its GDP on the military, far beyond what its economy could sustain. Central planning crushed innovation. Productivity stagnated. Farms failed. Factories produced unusable goods. The Soviet currency was not trusted, even by its own citizens. Real trade required gold or oil because no one wanted rubles. When oil prices fell in the 1980s, the illusion collapsed. Eastern Europe walked away almost overnight. The Soviet government could not stop it. The state ran out of money. The military could not be paid. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union ceased to exist, from global superpower to non-existent in 900 days. No invasion, no final battle, just economic implosion. This is the pattern. And now it brings us to the United States. The United States today maintains military commitments across the globe, hundreds of bases, troops in more than 100 countries, security guarantees spanning Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The military budget exceeds that of the next 10 countries combined, yet the system is stretched thin. Recruitment is falling, equipment is aging, commitments exceed capacity. This is the same overextension that doomed every empire before. The dollar, once tied to gold, is now pure fiat. Since the early 1970s, its purchasing power has collapsed. Trillions have been created digitally, not through production, but through debt. The method differs from past empires. The result does not. Currency debasement always ends the same way. Debt has become structural, $36 trillion and rising. Interest payments approaching $1 trillion annually. Borrowing not for emergencies, but to pay previous borrowing. This is the definition of a debt spiral. It has ended empires before, and it has never reversed itself naturally. Productive capacity has hollowed out. Manufacturing has been outsourced. Supply chains depend on foreign nations. Essential goods, medicine, electronics, even military components are imported. Consumption dominates production. Just as Spain depended on imports while silver flowed out, America depends on imports while dollars flow out. Social cohesion is fracturing. Trust in institutions is collapsing. Political dysfunction is permanent. Crime, addiction, and homelessness rise while confidence falls. Fertility rates decline. The system no longer produces unity or purpose. These are not random problems. They are late-stage symptoms. 5 stages completed. The next stage is the erosion of reserve currency dominance. Trade conducted in alternatives. Central banks diversifying. Allies hedging. When global demand for dollars weakens, those dollars return home. And that is when inflation becomes uncontrollable, debt becomes unpayable, and the system breaks. Collapse does not arrive slowly. It arrives suddenly. A currency crisis triggers a debt crisis. A debt crisis triggers political paralysis. And the empire falls faster than anyone believes possible. Every empire told itself the same story, that it was different, that history did not apply, that the rules had changed. They were wrong every time. History does not care about exceptionalism, it only cares about math. And the math has never spared an empire that ignored it. The future is not hidden. It has already happened before.